Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Price List Update Summary video series brought to you by Actionable Insights. You've got Harrison here and you've got Whatley there, and we're here to talk about the new line items added to the Xactimate price list in September 2022. All right, Whatley, we've got 6 new line items to talk about this month. If you are interested in learning more from Actionable Insights after watching this video, guess what? We've got a ton of stuff at getinsights.org. In fact, you're going to see our new Actionable profile at work with our new inspection engine drawer. What is it? Basically, if you're writing estimates in the Actionable Xactimate profile, we're providing live estimating guidance in the software. No more mistakes, no more missed line items. All right, Whatley, let's jump into the 6 new line items in September of 2022. We've got DRY 5/8 MR Plus. This is a 5/8 inch mold resistant, ready for paint line item in the drywall category. Now, in my research and preparing for this video, we looked up what mold-resistant line items already existed in the drywall. And in fact, we found that mold-resistant ready for texture line item already existed. We're simply rounding out the options here to add MR Plus so that now you have 1/2 inch mold-resistant, ready for texture, ready for paint, and 5/8 mold-resistant, ready for texture, ready for paint. Thoughts?
Yeah, it just rounds out the rule set for the rule drawer. So previously you had, if you use 1/2 inch drywall and it's in a room that's known to have a wet wall that's within 4 feet of plumbing, that would be a bathroom or a kitchen or utility closet, then it would guide the user towards the mold resistant variant. But previously, before the ready for paint, it wasn't a clean connection. But now if you use the 5/8 inch line item for ready for paint, and it's in a room type that I just mentioned, then it's going to guide you towards the mold resistant variant of the line item. So it's just cleaner straight away. And that's kind of emblematic of what the rule drawer is. Like, you can either watch us doing these videos and go back 4 years and try to put it all together and memorize it, or you can just use the rule drawer where it has all of this logic built in. So
right, reminding you of what line items exist and what line items you should be using along the way. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, siding category. We always like new additions to the siding category. We have SDG INS 3/8. That's fanfold foam insulation board, 3/8 inches. Now, if you go search fanfold, you'll note there was one fanfold line item previous to September, which was a 1/4 inch. So continuing the theme here, we're rounding out size options in the fanfold foam insulation board, 3/8 inch. Beautiful. All right.
Yeah, same thing. It's like if you have insulation, then house wrap might be warranted. If you're doing siding, did I say that right? If you're doing siding, house wrap might be warranted. And then if you're doing siding, then maybe fanfold insulation board would be warranted. It just wouldn't be warranted on the siding line items that already include insulation. And so the engine would correct for that overage. So if you try to use this line item or the 1/8 inch variant with a siding line item that does include insulation, it will throw a overage alert.
Nice work. All right, 4 new line items in the ELE electrical category. First one is probably the biggest one. ELE 110 Plus. This is for a 110 volt copper wiring run box and outlet, high grade. So we've had ELE 110 for a long time, standard 110 volt copper wiring run box and outlet. Now we have a high grade option in ELE 110 Plus. Any thoughts here? Do you see this high grade 110 volts being more commonplace in the industry?
Yeah, I think like high grade, if you think about a new build, high grade is becoming like what was average grade previously. You can see that show up with cabinets and countertops and so on. So if you buy a newer home, high grade is kind of the baseline for what we call builder's grade, and then it goes up from there. So keep in mind that because this price is just 30 years old, when it says high grade, that can give you the impression, especially as an adjuster who's a little green, like, oh, they're using a really expensive line item. Well, really, high grade is about the average, whether it's cabinetry, countertops, carpet, so on, relative to like a newer build. What it's doing is it's accommodating for builds that were like 20 years ago. And so that's how we ended up on this scale, where it's a little bit wonky in its language today.
Okay. And 3 new line items related to doorbell chimes and buttons. You know what? I actually do not have a doorbell on my house. I haven't for 10 years. It's quite nice, actually. My dog is my doorbell.
Yep.
Cooper. But DBC, doorbell coop is what we call them.
Nice.
But 3 new buttons in the button only category. Now, what's interesting is we had a line item, ELEC button, for door chime button only, but now we have grades of buttons. So standard grade, high grade, and then a wireless button, standard grade, right? So C button minus, and that's spelled CBUTTN minus, etc. So there's your 6 new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list in September 2022. Now, Whatley, that's not where we finish our work. We now are going to take a look at the changes to existing line items in the price list that happened in September. I'm going to briefly stop my screen share here and rescreen for the entire full screen. Bam! All right, welcome back. What we have here on the left side is August 2022 price list and the line items as they were composed in August. On the right side, we've got September here. And in fact, I'll jump over so we can compare apples to apples. All right. Whatley, we've got some significant changes this month that we want to highlight. Yield adjustments. So first off, let's start with the important stuff like yield adjustments. Things like whenever a yield changes, aka reminder for those that may be new to the concept of yield, I'll open up a line item here, go to the unit price here on the right side. We'll hit the I for information. And once I drop down this box for details, you'll see that each line item, for example, let's go down to, this is not there you go, has a section for direct yield. In a perfect environment, what is the productivity that trade, labor component, can perform in an hour? So for example, 30, what is this? Rewire 30 square feet per hour for an electrician in this line item, right? Anytime there's a change in yield and productivity, that changes the price. Right? Something gets harder to do and yield goes down, price goes up. Something becomes easier to do, yield goes up, price goes down. So let's take a look at some of the yield changes that happened in September 2022. I want to start with 3 very popular line items: ELE wire, ELE rewire, ELE rewire C. All right. Now you'll see in the changes stated here, they've modified the replace assembly to represent material assumptions for 3-way switches. So if I take a look at the old component buildup and the new component buildup, you'll note here, and I'll move these together to make our video development team easier for them to zoom in on here. All right. You'll note on the right side, there is now a material component for switches. Or I need to go down to the rewire one. Here, hold on, let me pull up ELE wire first. Boom, 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 boom. Pull it over. All right. So the rewire line item here now has a 3-way switch general component, which did not exist, for example, near the smoke detector in August. All right. So they're adding a material component, which does impact the price. However, they've also impacted things like the yield of the labor component. Note that if I hit edit here in August in ELE wire average residence copper wiring, an electrician could do about 34 square feet per hour in a perfect environment. Now in September, it was knocked down a little bit to 33.846. What does this mean? Yield goes down, price goes up. So this is the San Diego price list for those tracking. In August, this was $6.43 per square foot. In September, it's now $6.51, an increase of about 8 cents per square foot. Small change, percentage-wise, relative-wise, but an important one. And these types of change existed throughout, what happened throughout all of these rewire and rewire C. You'll see rewire C went from $6.45 per square foot to $6.50, $4.33 to $4.37 for ELE rewire. Very common line item, right? ELE rewire. So what happened? As the pricing department went in to look at the ELE related button line items that came out this month, they also revisited some of the wiring and rewiring line items and made changes to productivity of those line items based on real life conditions in the field. We like to see that, right?
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's important because these line items drive things like the SKT macros for electrical, and it also drives the valuation tool in Xact. So if you're going to do like a scraper and do a full on valuation, it's good that we're including more modern electrical components like the 3-way switch. Another thing that comes up often and is omitted from like the valuation tool or the SKT macro is tamper resistant outlets. It's a big thing here in California that a lot of our municipalities call for. So be that the case, make sure you make those adjustments individually. But yeah, this is a step in the right direction. Good.
All right, 2 other big yield changes this month. It's probably something you'll be very happy about. MSD. We're talking shower doors. We're talking bathtub enclosures. All right. Major changes to the yields for custom shower door and partition. As I open up the item information here, unit price, I for information, and we take a look. You'll see, oh, I got to actually go select the right line item here. SDC. Boom, 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 boom. All right. That's a giant change, Whatley, just by looking at the price per unit of the hardware installer labor. This went from 15 square feet of custom shower doors per hour to 7. They cut productivity in half. All right. Now that's going to be a significant change in the overall unit price for this custom shower door. It went from $26 a square foot to now $32 per square foot. Similar for the bathtub enclosure with sliding glass doors, went from $394 to $503. That's a 25% increase in the bathtub enclosure shower class doors, primarily, as you'll see here, just around the labor efficiency. Used to be able to do almost 1 bathtub enclosure an hour. Now you can do almost half in an hour.
Yeah, this is good. I always had trouble as a restorer making reasonable margins on glazing for showers. I think one of the big inefficiencies that emerges is like you have to get your sub out there to measure everything, and it's glass work is not very forgiving. So if you get that wrong at all, which happens, you're in big trouble. And so perhaps that's why I see a yield jump here. It's just to accommodate a lot of the extra labor. You're not talking like ubiquitous building material where you call a plumber out to do supply lines and he's like supply lines, angle stops, or supply lines are angle stops. You know, when you're talking custom glass work, like you got to get it out there, measure it, dial it in, get back, manufacture it,
Don't
get it
drop
back
it.
out to the property, right? And then everything can kind of change by the time when they measured it versus when your tile sub is putting in your tile. And it's a complicated goat rodeo. And perhaps that's why these yields have been
Adjusted.
Updated accordingly.
Yeah. All right, that's it for the yield changes. Some item information changes. The existing doorbell chime buttons essentially were given some extra quality, basically talking about, hey, let me go to the item image here, additional item information. It basically now just says, hey, what kind of quality may have range from 1,000 feet to a mile or like. That was the CBUTW here, right? Oh, item image. Right? They've just added some quality information around the existing button line items to differentiate them from the now standard grade, high grade, and wireless standard grade line items. Lastly, the pricing department at Xactimate does like to give us a little preview of what may be coming next month being October. We've seen the top thing here for potentially installing fencing in cold areas for a couple months now. So you can see that's still in progress. Line items for installing fencing in cold weather or difficult areas. Oak hollow core bifold doors might be in the future.
Yep.
This one's interesting. It's new. Items for microwave drawers. I like it. I like that that's something that they're putting in there for people to have that option to use when invoicing.
Yep, they're becoming more popular.
They are. All right. So that's it. Those are the 6 new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list in September 2022, as well as all the other changes to existing line items. If you're interested in learning more, check us out at getinsights.org. That is the home to all things actionable insights. Most importantly, as we've shown off and discussed today, our new actionable Xactimate profile that provides live estimating guidance while you write in Xactimate. All right. In the meantime, good luck settling all those claims out there.
Keep building.